You are listening to the global network of podcasters dedicated to the pharmacy profession. Welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
This is the Pain Pod.
You want to see pain? Look at these.
Welcome to the Pain Pod, the podcast for all things pain management. Hosted by the Pain Guy, Dr. Mark Garofoli. We'll be collaborating with numerous pain management experts, talking about substance usage disorders, the latest treatment modalities, and most important, focusing on the pain of our patients as leading providers of pain care. And now, here's our host, a man wanted in all 50 states, a suburban city-like mountain man,
Without the beard.
from the hills of West Virginia, and certified in weapons of mass destruction response. It's Dr. Mark Garofoli.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Pain Pod. So today, well, we've got a brief episode, okay? We usually give you enough to have a nice run or jog or stroll or drive, but this one's kind of on the beat, on the street reporting here because we've got a new pain medication, hot off the presses. Lots of chatter online. The media's covering it. It's on every news station, and lo and behold, we need it on the Pain Pod. You know, on the Pharmacy Podcast Network, that's one of the go-to, areas for new information. So, why in the world won't we cover Suzetrigine, also known as Journavx, right? It's the new pain medication, the new non-opioid. Dun, 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 dun. In an era of the opioid crisis, or whatever we want to call it, whenever there's a novel, a newer medication with a mechanism of action that we either haven't seen in a while or gets more specific or is truly just out of the blue novel, well, we got to cover it, right? So let's hop to here, all right? So this Journavx stuff, Suzetrigine, it's a sodium channel inhibitor, right? We abbreviate that as a NAV 1.8. And you're like, good golly, is he talking MME factors again? Morphine milligram equivalent factors? No. In fact, it's not even an opioid, okay? Let's throw it out there. Hey, naloxone doesn't work on it because it's not an opioid, okay? I'm pretty sure, unless anyone's under a rock, you caught the headline saying, hey, it's a non-opioid option, right? But, we need more. All right. I wish they would just get folks like us pharmacists on, the coverage of the media when that happens, because we dive deeper, right? We go into things like, okay, well, how do you explain this mechanism of action? Well, here's how I do it. Okay. It's a sodium channel inhibitor. So it's working on sodium channels. Good golly, every college student in the last, many decades, used to work on the old sodium potassium pump, and then, the conducting electricity through our bodies with sodium channels, right? The overall idea here is that it's keeping the sodium out. It keeps it out in the extracellular fluid. It doesn't give it a ticket. It doesn't let it come into the cell. That movement usually gives it your action potential, creates the electricity. Yes, folks, we're all just like a potato battery, but we're human. We can probably power way more than a little light bulb, right? Maybe those LEDs these days. But that's where it's working, right? But we've had medications in the past that work in that same ballpark, right? Lidocaine, or the canes, come to mind, right? In an anesthetic sense, also in a arrhythmia sense, all talking about the electricity here in our human bodies, right? Now, with this new medication, Suzetrigine, it's the way I liken it. It's kind of like, well, we have club seats instead of standing room only. Something like, I mentioned lidocaine. That's your standing room only ticket to get into the ballpark. Or, no, not Super Bowl. That would cost you an arm, a leg, and 2 kidneys. But anyways, this new medicine's more like the club seats. Why? Well, right off the bat, you're like, well, hey, pain guy, it's probably because it's new and it costs more, right? We'll get there. Where I'm going with it, though, is that it's specific, okay? There's multiple sodium voltage gated channels in our body, just like we do with beta, beta 1, beta 2, so on and so forth, alpha 1 and 2, cannabinoids, dare we say, CB1 and 2. Well, here we are again, but now it's with sodium voltage gated channels, NAVs, right? This works on NAV 1.8. There's others. And I guarantee that many of you have heard of them before, but they were disguised. When this first time it was talked about, it was on The Simpsons, okay? Longest running show in the history of mankind, right? Still going strong. It's even on Disney Plus these days, the reruns anyway. But there was an episode, okay? Season 2, all the way back in, I believe, 1991. But season 2, episode 11, okay? Homer the fam was over, I believe, in Asia, and they were having sushi, and the chef thought that he would cut the blowfish incorrectly, right? And then he was told that he had 24 hours to live. That was basically the episode, right? What in the heck does that have to do with NAV 1.8, right? Well, that blowfish or pufferfish is said to have a toxin in it, okay? It's tetrodotoxin. It rolls off the tongue after you say it 35 times, but it's abbreviated as TTX, okay? That TTX is in the pufferfish or blowfish organs, primarily the liver, and it's actually banned to ever serve liver from that blowfish, where Homer was in that fake episode, obviously, right? But the intestinal bacteria produce that TTX, the tetrodotoxin, and a little knife slip could be the end of it for someone, because that's a toxin. It leads to death, okay? It paralysis, because it stops the action potentials. It cuts the electricity. Lights are not on and no one is home scenario, right? But that's so that TTX that's in pufferfish, blowfish, what Homer proverbially experienced, they lead to paralysis and death in mammals on the NAV 1.1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and supposedly 7 channels, okay? 1 point each of those, but not 1.8. That's where it comes in. So this NAV 1.8, it's a little bit different, okay? It's you don't have to worry about the pufferfish having any action on there. It was not in that Simpsons episode, okay? But that's where it's at there, okay? So we got club seats, we got the Simpsons. What else we got here? So, a little other background. Doubt you've heard of this one, but there's Brugada syndrome. Sounds like something from a mafia movie, right? All respect to anyone who has had this, by the way. But it's an arrhythmia disorder. It's basically linked to mutations in the sodium channel gene, specifically the SCN5A. Pretty sure I remember those numbers and letters right, but SCN5A. Tried to memorize it for you folks. But the mutations lead to, a reduction in that sodium flow, leaves it extracellular, doesn't let it into heart muscles. Okay, major concern there for, it's relatively rare, but those that have that. But again, it's affecting those sodium voltage gated channels. All right. So that's a heck of a lot of background. You didn't hear that on the news when it comes to Brugada, Simpsons, and club seats when we're thinking of how the heck this new Sustrigine works, right? What about the studies? All right, it's all about the studies, baby, right? And the dosage, if I'm ever paraphrasing Paracelsus, but lots of different studies, but there was 2 phase 3 trials. One was on abdominoplasty. You know what that is? Tummy tuck, okay? The other one was on bunionectomy. It's like where all the cool kids hang out for all pain trials these days. That seems to be where it's at, right? In these trials, though, it's really important to point out that it was predominantly, almost exclusively female patients, okay? Very high percentage, over 90%. That's different. Back in the day, it was literally the exact opposite, right? So we got to keep that in mind. What was shown, the summary basically, is that the efficacy was almost mirroring that of a hydrocodone-acetaminophen 5-325 tablet. Okay, now that's big when you think about it. You've got a non-opioid almost mirroring the efficacy of an opioid, albeit a lower dose, but it's an opioid-naive common dose. It's what we see in practice, right? So we're onto something there, right? Perhaps that's why we saw it at least all over the news. But again, almost all female patients tummy tucks and bunionectomies. That's not everything. I mean, there's a lot of pain out there, right? Those trials led to FDA approval for specifically moderate to severe acute pain in adults. Okay. What's that great philosopher, W. Farrell? Well, that escalated quickly. So it's approved for all acute pain in adults. That is, pain that is moderate to severe, right? Based on those two studies there. And of course, the information from phase 1 and phase 2 as well. So that's where we're at. That's huge news, right? All right, we're in healthcare. Heck, we're in the pharmacy realm here, right? So what else do we need to know here, right? Well, food can alter the absorption. So you got to, basically we're talking, eventually we'll be talking with patients about, not eating, the idea of taking on an empty stomach. It's usually said to be about an hour before or 2 hours after food ingestion. So that comes into play, right? But again, we're dealing with acute pain in this scenario. Most folks want to have that pain taken care of, and they'll do and do what we got to do as far as timing for the medicines, right? At least I would as a patient, wouldn't you? Of note, this Suzetrigine is also a 3A substrate. It's right in the package insert, actually, and it's specific to, they don't say 3A4. I know all of our minds go there. It's like one of those psychological pictures. If I say 3A4, you hear 3A4, but if I say 3A, you probably still hear 3A4, right? But it is a 3A substrate, so we got to watch out for those drug-drug interactions. Hey-oh, grapefruit juice, right? All right, so how's it dosed? It's complicated, simplistic. A complicated simplicity, I'll say that. So the initial dose would be 100 milligrams. That would be 2 of the pills. And then subsequently, it's 50 milligrams, which is how they are provided, every 12 hours times 3 doses. So in the first 2 days, you take 2 for the first dose and then 1 every 12 hours. After the second day, then it's 1 of the 50 milligrams once a day. And of course, we're in the acute pain realm here, so we're usually looking at less than 2 weeks, less than 14 days, okay? Now, hopefully you table this, but remember we were talking about club seats instead of standing room only compared to the canes, lidocaine and all that? Well, those club seats ain't free, right? So what's the cost, all right? We went over a lot of the ups and downs when it comes to this new medication, but the cost is said to be, and this is from media sources here, $15 a pill. So obviously, one of the biggest things, that's initial dose is 30. And then over the first 2 days, you're looking at another 3 doses and then 1 a day, right? It adds up pretty quick. But again, we are in the acute realm here, so we're not talking thousands. This is in the acute pain realm for adults, for moderate to severe acute pain in adults. What we really would need to see here for the actual access is, the manufacturer representatives being out there working with health systems, working with coverages to ensure that there would be actual coverage and realistic copays to actually have this out there helping patients. Because from what we just talked about through everything, it's a non-opioid option, got some novelty to it. We've got, the safety and efficacy ideas that we went over. And the access includes cost and coverage as well, too. So TBD, to be determined in that. Hopefully we have another option here for our patients. Finally, right? It's been a while. It's been like 20 years since we had a novel idea there. But again, we've had the sodium channel realm, that ballpark before. It's just we had standing room only seats. Now we got some club seats, right? All right, folks, hope this helps you out as far as a quick rundown with a little bit of entertainment in the background. You probably didn't expect The Simpsons or Brigada coming in here, right? But let's rock out those club seats for helping our patients in pain. Until the next episode, folks, I thank you, Pain Pod Nation, and I wish you a great day every day.
If you'd like to join Mark on the Pain Pod, send us an email to publisher at pharmacypodcast.com. And make sure to share the show and subscribe on your favorite podcast directory. Thanks for listening.